This is a follow-up to a previous video I made about Rex as a character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is also part 4 of a 4-part series about new Xenoblade characters in Ultimate, but the only video you really need to see beforehand is the previous one on Rex. I would definitely recommend watching that first, and then coming back to see this one, because I'm going to be glossing over a few things that were more explained back there. Of course, if you're interested in seeing what I do for Malos as an Echo Fighter of Shulk, and for Elma as a unique newcomer, there are still the other 2 videos in that playlist that you can watch too. So with that out of the way, hello everyone, I'm Luxon, and today I'm going to be talking about a Rex moveset in Smash Bros. Again, the second week in a row. I'm original. But seriously, this is a completely different moveset to the last one, although it's a bit of a simpler one. This one is explicitly designed for it to be Rex and Pyra as a pair, with the express intent of Adam and Mythra being Echo Fighters of them. So I'm just gonna start explaining this, I guess. This is very much going to be a Simon and Richter Belmont situation where they effectively echo each other. Rex's game came first, and we saw him in battle before we ever even saw who Adam actually looked like. But lore-wise, Adam and Mythra came first in the timeline 500 years beforehand, and literally bore witness to the creation of the fighting style Rex and Pyra use. The Smash character takes a lot of elements from the Xenoblade 2 compendium combat as a whole, not really leaning too far in the base game or Torna direction, and basically the way each character's animations work sort of makes it seem more like they come from their specific game. This is going to be, again, more of a Simon and Richter situation where some of the bigger differences between them are literally just animations and not how any of their attacks actually function. Adam's gonna have a few differences, and they're probably a lot more than you would normally have on an Echo, so, like with the Malos video, take this as me being, here's a pool of changes that Adam can have to Shulk. Choose whichever few that you would want him to have, basically. So, unlike last time, where the main gimmick of the character was the blade switch, there's no blade switch at all. Each driver only has one blade, Pyra for Rex and Adam for Mythra. Although they do have some gimmicks as well that are still completely unique and no other Smash characters have. Overall, the two of them are both faster sword-based characters but with relatively long range. I'm thinking in between Ike and Shulk range with relatively high agility and mobility. Yes, Adam is bigger than Rex, but their playstyles are both similar enough where they could very easily be seen moving around at the same speed, but very light, as in Toon Link or Young Link, but maybe a little heavier. And yeah, they're both the same weight, they have the same physical properties like that. Adam is bigger, and therefore a bigger target, but at the same time he's slightly stronger, while Rex is a lot harder to hit, but he's slightly weaker. So that's their main change overall mechanics-wise. Their movement is completely the same. They do have a couple differences in actual moves, and a few things animation-wise, but other than that, the size is the big mechanic thing. They've got 2 gimmicks this time, unlike basically 3 like the last version of Rex had. The first one is lifted from the previous video. It's the Affinity system, works the exact same way, but without the whole certain blades buff certain attributes thing. The Affinity bonus is purely just an increase to damage and knockback, but I'm gonna add one extra wrinkle in here. Both characters have a very weak normal shield when they're far enough away from their blade to not get the actual boost from them. But if they're in Affinity range, their shield will pull a Yoshi and turn into the hexagonal orange-looking blade shield that blades actually use in the game when you block an attack. So that's just to get a little more actual integration with their game of origin in there, and basically it still functions like a normal shield, it just looks a bit different. You could probably even recolor it to look like the way regular shields work, like they just go with the player's color and not have it be orange all the time. That's probably the best option. And just have it even look like sort of and shrink like a normal Smash character shield, just give it the extra texture so you know that it's the Affinity based shield, not the regular one. And maybe increasing Affinity increases shield HP, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of there's Affinity shield, and then there's no Affinity dinky regular shield as being the only trade-off. Final difference between the two of them besides attacks, Rex has a tether grab with his anchor, while Adam just has a regular grabby grab. Yeah, I don't know. So let's move on to their attacks. Overall, their normals are going to be very similar. They're a combination of Rex's auto attacks, Adam's auto attacks, as well as Mythra's auto attacks when you're playing as her in the Golden Country, and incorporating any arts or specials that aren't B moves, and some cutscene only moves, and if there's no other option from all of those, you could just take a Shulk move and modify it, because close enough, I guess. Besides B, their only real difference is their forward smash. Rex's is double spinning edge, while Adam's is his level 1 special Sword Blossom. They're basically just different multi-hit moves. Sword Blossom is a few more hits than double spinning edge, but overall their overall damage knockback, if you land with everything, would probably be about the same anyway, so it's not too big a difference, but it is slightly more different than just slightly different looking animations, basically. And here's the second gimmick. Blade Specials. Landing attacks will build up the character's special meter, so there'd be a small icon of the special gauge from Xenoblade 2 next to the character's portrait and their percent number, like the Inkling's Ink Tank, Cloud's Limit Gauge, all that kind of stuff. And that will go from nothing to 3. So landing other attacks that will gradually fill up the meter, using a special won't fill it up basically, and using neutral B while it's charged to a certain level will cause the blade to hop into the foreground and perform a special. And here's probably the biggest actual animation difference. Rex, when he's in the foreground fighting, carries Pyra's Aegis sword, and when you tag Pyra in for a special with neutral B, he'll give the sword to Pyra. Adam, on the other hand, will actually use his regular greatsword, not the Aegis sword, because that's just not how he fought back in the day. But Mythra will be carrying her Aegis sword, and when you call her in for a blade special, she'll obviously be using that to attack. In general, the blade special attacks have a relatively high startup time compared to the rest of the character's attacks, but are stronger than most of the rest of them. Still far weaker than one of Cloud's limit attacks, though. I'm trying to keep them balanced, and also I just kind of don't feel them being a super powerful attack would... It's accurate more to Xenoblade 2, but I kind of feel like it would make more sense for them to be better than the rest of their attacks, but not ridiculously good like some of Cloud's. So we'll move on to their normal specials very quickly, which shouldn't take too long, because a lot of them are going to be the same between the two characters. First off is neutral B when the special gauge isn't charged up enough to use the level 1 special. For Rex, it's going to be called Fire Shot, while for Adam, it would be Legion Scatter. Both of these are just small, relatively weak projectiles that only exist as a neutral B for when the blade special isn't charged, because he needs something there. Rex will shoot out a small wave of fire, while Adam just kind of shoots out a generic energy shockwave. Legion Scatter is a regular art that Adam actually straight up has. It's not really a projectile, but I can turn it into one easily because it's an AoE blowdown, which kind of just makes me think projectile. It took me a while. It actually took me until scripting this video and realizing it wasn't actually a projectile and listing it as a projectile, but I'm going to make it a projectile. And the Fire Shot is just a thing Rex does with Pyra's Aegis sword in a few cutscenes. Sometimes he just kind of flicks it and fire comes out, and that's probably the animation that I'd go for. And sometimes it just pops out after him using Rolling Smash, so this isn't an art you can actively control him to use, but this is something he's capable of doing as seen in the cutscenes. For Up B, Rex has Rolling Smash and Adam has Rising Arc. Both of these are reskins of each other. They're basically an Ether or Final Cover type recovery. Rex just uses his normal Rolling Smash animation, except with a jump there before he rolls over and slams down, and Adam, you kind of have to cobble a couple things together animation-wise, because Rising Arc doesn't have a downward strike. For him, it's just an upward flick. You could obviously add a jump to that, but what do you do for coming down? Not 100% sure, but you could just lift the posing from one of his specials where he does a downward slash, and make him just kind of come down with that. For Down B, both of them have a counter. Rex gets Flaming Edge and Adam gets Foresight. I'm thinking you could kind of reskin Roy's counter and put it on Rex here, basically just because they both have fire swords, and I feel like that could work. And then, since Foresight is literally the Xenoblade 2 version of Visions, Adam gets a reskinned version of Shulk's Vision. Basically, both of these are derived from blade skills that Pyra and Mythra have. Foresight is only a story-wise vision thing, but you can tell from cutscenes that that's literally how it functions, and Adam explicitly mentions being able to use it too. Gameplay-wise, it's just one of Mythra's battle skills, and while Pyra doesn't have an actual official counter thing, I just took the name of one of Pyra's battle skills and turned it into a counter, because Mythra's counter is one of her skills too, and Flaming Edge just sounds the most actual attack-y out of the three. For side B, we've got Sword Bash for Rex and Ogre Smash for Adam. This is a charging sideways lunge that could possibly be useful for recovery. It doesn't really have... I know I always talk about giving Xenoblade characters a reskin of Ike's side B, but this one is slightly different because it's probably just a one input and you stab sideways thing as opposed to having to charge up and release. You might be able to use it for recovery, I'm not sure. I kind of iffy on that one. I don't know Smash well enough to know whether or not it would be good design to do that or not. Now, both of these arts in the actual games have bonus damage caused when attacking the enemy from a certain direction. Sword Bash increases damage from the back when Rex uses it, while Ogre Smash increases damage from the front when Adam uses it. So, in an effort to not make changes whenever necessary, I'm just going to split the difference and say it doesn't have any bonus like Shulk's would. So, yeah, that's about it. With that though, we can go over the blade specials for each blade. I mentioned a few differences already. This is the second main difference besides Adam's size and strength difference from Rex. The blade specials are the blade specials. I'm going to just go Pyra and Mythra and go through all the levels. So Pyra's level 1 would be Flame Nova, her actual level 1 special. You'll notice a pattern, I'm using their actual level 1 through 3 specials as their specials here. The 3 Mythra specials are actually her quote-unquote driver arts when you're controlling her in the Vanguard, but I'm gonna have to bend Mythra a little closer to her Xenoblade 2 version to have this make sense. So, Flame Nova is the highest startup of any of the Pyra specials, but it's a relatively large pulse of flame that covers the ground, or the air if you're in the air I guess, on both sides of Rex at once, so it has a good spread. Not necessarily range, but a good spread. Her level 2 is Prominence Revolt. Now, normally this causes fire to erupt underneath every enemy in the battle and cause damage to them, but you're gonna have to scale that back just so it makes sense in Smash, so I'm thinking just 3 pillars of fire erupt in front of Pyra, think Mega Man down smash, but Pyra's height pillar size, and maybe twice as wide in terms of width, with maybe a slight spacing in between them. You could probably just actually reuse the same effect for Mega Man's fire pillars and scale it up and have it still work. Her level 3 special is Blazing End, which is Rex's only projectile besides the fire shot. Pyra will throw her sword forwards out to a certain distance. I wrote down here approximately 1/3 Final Destination length. I don't know, that might be too long, that might be too short, I'm not sure. If the sword connects with anything damageable, it'll spin in place and hit around 5 to 7 times. The last hit has relatively high knockback, so this is obviously a kill move. If the sword hits a reflector or anything non-damageable, it will immediately fly back to Pyra. You could also have it disintegrating and just have Pyra summon another sword in Rex's hand to use like that, because that's a thing that blades can do. But because of the way the sword projectile works, it doesn't seem like something that would be pocketable or reflectable, because you just can't have Villager pocket Pyra's sword and then prevent Rex from attacking forever. That's a little dumb, especially since there's kind of no way to actually use it as a pocketed thing. I don't know. It's just too many things happen if you let it be pocketed or reflected, so this one is an exception. Pyra is stuck in place and vulnerable while the sword is in the air, and any damage done to her affects the Rex and Pyra percentage, so yeah, you can kill her that way. That's basically it for Pyra, so let's move on to Mythra's 3 specials. Her level 1 is Ray of Punishment. Now, I actually gave Mythra Ray of Punishment as a special in my previous Rex moveset, but we're not gonna go with the same version of Ray of Punishment because that was designed to be a recovery move, and this one isn't. Instead, I'm thinking, instead of just jumping up and aiming the sword down, she does the same pose, but it's thrusting the sword forwards, and the beam comes out sideways, basically just a weaker version of Thoron. Mythra's level 2 is Photon Edge, which is just a big melee sword combo. She hits the enemy really hard. If you want to have her teleport behind them as one of the attacks and then slash them out of them, you could do that, I guess. And her level 3 is Lightning Buster. This would have a high startup, probably the highest of Adam's specials, but a huge forward sweeping attack with high knockback. So both Photon Edge and Lightning Buster would be decent kill moves, but Lightning Buster is good for catching enemies off guard because of the way Mythra uses it. She basically telekinesis the sword in front of her at a pretty big distance, so maybe this has a disjoint, where since Pyra's level 3 is effectively a projectile, Mythra's would effectively be a ranged attack too, and it doesn't hit near her, but it hits far away, and it's some sort of snipey, high knockback kill move or something. I don't know, you might have to come up with a few things about that one on your own, but those are all the specials, and really the last thing to talk about is the final smashes. There are really only 2 options per character this time, just because of the way things work. Either a chain attack with that character's party, so Nia and Tora for Rex, and Laura and Hugo for Adam. Laura would probably have Jin, and Hugo would probably have Brigid, while Nia and Tora would have their main blades, Drill Mark, Poppy Alpha, obviously, or that blade's level 4 special. Now this would be cool because getting the Smash Ball could actually turn the special gauge to say level 4 on the portrait, and that would be a whole cool integration thing. So that would be Burning Sword for Pyra, and Sacred Arrow, not Sacred Arrow, Hedron Impact for Adam and Mythra. As I slipped there is no Sacred Arrow, which is kind of unfortunate because it's probably the most iconic level 4 special in Xenoblade 2, even more so than Burning Sword, but I feel like some sacrifices do have to be made in terms of actual accuracy. Both of these would probably just be cinematic combo attacks, chain attacks would be reskins of Shulk's Final Smash, and there you have it. That's my second Rex moveset. It's still kind of complicated, but it's a lot simpler than last one, and I don't know. I like the idea of Pyra and Mythra being echoes in some way, maybe have Rex and Pyra and Rex and Mythra be echoes, or them fighting without him and being echoes of each other, but I personally like Rex, Pyra, Adam, Mythra just to get some Golden Country representation in there too. I kind of think that Elma's not going to get in at this point, and I know we're going to have to wait till DLC for anyone Xenoblade 2, so none of these things that I came up with are actually going to be in the base game, so that's kind of unfortunate. But I'm still holding out hope that we get the ridiculously huge Sakurai Bias Xenoblade DLC pack that comes with Elma as a unique newcomer, Rex as a unique newcomer, Malos as a Shulk Echo, and then Adam as a Rex Echo. I can dream. And I can also say that until next time, this is Luxon, signing off.